What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content daily. We also stream on this channel here Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sunday mornings, so come by and say hello. Okay, so I wanted to do a bit of a follow-up video to something that I put out maybe a week or a couple of weeks ago, where I was looking at what the summoner supply would be following the rewards update, and how, well, in that video, I was looking at, what would essentially happen to the overall summoner supply once we had the rewards update, and who would be able to earn based off of that. Because if from that point forwards, if you're using a ghost summoner, or I should just expand that to a ghost card in your lineup, then you do not earn on that card. Now, of course, the details aren't fully out there yet, but with all of the discussion about bots recently, I wanted to take a closer look at what the numbers would be like if we theoretically had, a cap on bots. And the thing is, when, the first part of this, when the bronze nerf came out back in October, that was good in the sense where, you couldn't make unlimited accounts, right? Like there would have to be some CP required in order to start earning. And in a sense, yes, there is only a finite amount of CP. Obviously, more is being added every single day with the rewards, with the new expansion. So it's finite, but it's like very inflationary at the same time. So, but now that it's going to be a situation where the deck that you play is going to be divided by, only the ghost cards that you're using, sorry, not the ghost cards, only the real and owned cards that you are using will get you these reward shares as well as DEC. Excuse me. That just means that the finiteness of the situation is going to be even stronger, right? So what do I mean by that? So a couple weeks ago, I was looking at the summoners, and the summoners are fine and dandy. We can look at those, but at the end of the day, if you're going to be playing a game with a full deck, right? So you're going to have a summoner and 6, monster cards, and you are going to earn on any cards that you own. Well, technically the summoner is only 1/7, and they're actually an equal part, right? Like 1 out of however many total cards you end up using is a summoner. So when it comes to bot accounts are trying to minimize the amount of costs that they have. I mean, ideally, right? And the reason that I'm focusing on this is because we want to talk about where the exploit comes in from a scalability issue, right? What is the least amount that somebody could put in to extract the most amount? And so that is going to be buying the least amount of cards or the least expensive cards, and playing kind of at that base level, and then extracting all the value out of the game in that way. So that brought me to, okay, well, if summoners are not necessarily the best to look at, because if a bot is willing to play with a ghost card summoner, then they could have all commons and rares. Maybe the bot owner will invest in some epics and legendaries. And again, this is where the beauty of the economics is going to work to asset holders' advantage, because if these bots are scooping up assets off the ground, or like off the market, then these assets prices will raise in value. Like is it going to happen? Are we going to moon overnight? Are we going to moon in the next 6 months? Probably not, but it is going to be a supply constriction, which means that asset value should not only hold, but ideally go up in time if the team continues to do proper marketing and bring more and more people into the game, right? And that is an assumption that I think everybody here is working on. Whether or not you agree with the team's method, and I think we all believe that the team is going to try and bring as many people into this game as possible. So that's the given, right? That's the given that we're going off of. So let's actually dive into some of the numbers now. And what I wanted to do was look at what are the highest circulated cards out there. Now, of course, these cards are not going to, necessarily be the ones that are the most used or the most popular. I think if we want that, we can go and see what the price is, right? So I'm just looking at Chaos Legion common cards right now. And the reason I'm looking at common cards is because these are the most in circulation, or the cards that we have that are in most circulation. And so therefore, these would technically be the potential, cap on where bots could go. So looking at these cards, what I'm seeing across the board. So let's actually go back to the total circulation, or from the highest circulation, I should say. And, for these cards, these one mana cards, we're getting like 164,000. I would say if you scroll down just a little bit, we're probably averaged about 150K, right? Again, I'm just using rough numbers here, but about 150,000, right? You go all the way down to something like Deep Lurker or Antoid Platoon. These are in the 120, 130 range. And that's mainly because people who are buying these cards are leveling them up and combining them. Now, we are at roughly 4.6, maybe just under 4.7 million packs opened out of a total of 15 million packs, which obviously we haven't even sold through all 15 million yet. So again, just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to round that up to 5 million and say that from a circulation standpoint, we are roughly 1/3 of the way to having all of the supply available, right? So if that is the case, we can roughly multiply each of these circulations or each of these circulating numbers by 3 to get what the total amount would be. And again, we're kind of extrapolating how many people have leveled up their cards now to how many people would have leveled up cards later, right? We're just kind of taking this snapshot and then extrapolating it out 3 times. And so where that gets us to, if we're going to use that average of 150,000, means that for these starter cards, and until Rebellion comes out, I should say, we're only going to have 450,000 cards. So in a way, yes, you can have more accounts earning, but if you want an account to have a full starter deck, meaning that they have all of these cards, all of these common cards, I should say, because we're not even looking at rare cards, but just to have all of the common cards available to be able to earn off of, well, then, that caps us at less than 500,000. Now, people are looking at where the current player base is at, 400, about 400,000 is where the active daily user count is, of which we can probably say, I don't know, safely 80 to 90% of that might be bots already. So if you look at it from that standpoint, well, we're almost at the cap of where bots could be. So my glass half full takeaway from this whole thing is, if we already have roughly 350,000 bots in the system, and we're capping this at maybe 450, fine, just go all the way up and say 500,000 bots, because maybe some bots aren't using all the cards, right? So you have several other bots that are, maybe only focusing on certain splinters, but then keep in mind that they cannot earn on every battle, because if they can't play the certain splinter that they have, that just becomes a wasted ECR trip for them, right? So if that ends up being the case, and we say that, maybe that roughly 500,000 bot accounts exist, I'm not saying that the problem can't get any worse, but I'm saying that, it's pretty bad as it is. And based on the numbers that we're looking at, it can't get that much worse unless there's some other terrible exploit that comes through, or maybe the way that, they have been telling us about these rewards isn't exactly how we're assuming that they're going to be. Essentially what I'm saying is we don't have the full details yet. So maybe a lot of the liberties that we're taking to say, like, well, it sounds like, reward shares are only given out, or DEC is only given out if you have a ghost card. Well, maybe it'll be something like everybody gets one free ghost card, or who knows? What if they do something crazy, like, based on the number of SPS you have staked, maybe you get, you're allowed to use 2 ghost cards, right? Like, I don't know. It could be something incredibly complicated like that. I don't think that it will be. That just popped into my head because it's just like, if they're trying to drive utility to certain things, then maybe they drive utility to SPS for something like that. But that would seem a little silly in my opinion, because their whole point is to incentivize asset ownership. I was just trying to give you an outside the box look. Now, if we take a look at rare cards, this comes down to like 60K, maybe even 50K for some of these cards. So, for these, if a bot account wanted to play with rare cards, which are better, right, at the base level than common cards most times, well, now all of a sudden you're looking at a bot being capped at 150K, maybe 180K for some of these top cards. And this is just looking at Chaos Legion. If we take a look at Untamed, for example, these cards are already, obviously there's some Untamed packs that are not opened, but that's not going to move the needle too much. These are already pretty much fully diluted, or, the circulation is fully out there. So your rare cards are sitting at less than, 17,500, 17,000. And your common cards are sitting at 40,000 or less across the board. And plus, these are much more expensive too. And with the amount of Chaos Legion cards that are in the mix, I'm assuming that most bot owners would probably want to optimize for Chaos Legion, because then they don't have to worry about what happens when Rebellion comes through. And since when Rebellion comes through, Untamed will be phased out, these will technically not be as valuable at that time. Granted, if they're good cards, of course they're going to be valuable. But my point stands in terms of the long-term plan. If bot owners are trying to maximize their gains and optimize their results, is going to be with Chaos Legion, because that will be not just for this set of Modern format, but the next round of Modern format, which will be Chaos Legion and Rebellion. So that's all I have for you in this video today. Just something to think about. Again, of course, can any situation be made worse? Yes. But looking at this and the way that I see it, like this, the rewards update is going to just have massive, massive implications and have significant impacts across the entire game economy. And I think that's something important to consider. Is it going to be a perfect fix? I'm going to tell you right now, probably not, right? Like, nothing is a perfect fix, but I think what the team is doing is going to have some really, really strong impacts within the game. And once we see how things shake out, I have no doubt, I have a ton of faith in the team to be able to look at this objectively, take feedback from the community and say, okay, here are the things that worked, that were great. Here are the things that didn't work. Let's go ahead and shore up these things. And hopefully, now that the team is scaled up, it's not going to take another 6, 7, 8 months the way that it did from the initial bronze nerfs back in October to where we're sitting at now, in April. And hopefully this comes out in May. So that'll be 7 months between major rewards updates. That's a little too long. I mean, that's just being real with you. That's a little too long. So hopefully the team is in a better place now where they're able to respond to these types of things in a faster and more decisive way, more impactful way. All right, guys, have an amazing rest of your day. I will catch you all in the next video, and I will see you around the game. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Take care.